I refuse to not be first.
Do we do enough? Well, I never shut up about it.
It must have been about 16, 17. We nicked their guilt rings. Right, the bouncer's guilt ring.
This is no good for me. That's the reality. If you want the honest truth, and I see it every day.
This is Umar Ahmed for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. Disappointing night for Team Joyce and British boxing fans last night. But let's firstly start off with Zhang's performance. Full credit to him. A very big statement to the heavyweight division from Zhang last night, Johnny.
Yeah, without a doubt. Zhang showed he was a bigger version of Joyce. He was slow, he was predictable, but he was a bit faster than Joe. Good southpaw backhand lead, which was constantly catching Joe off balance, catching him off the mark, catching the target. And he used that southpaw style and the size perfectly. He just didn't look disjointed or anything. I think Joyce was probably made for him because if you create movement for Zhang left to right and you create angles and you make this man work and use his feet and chase you around and try and pick you off, then he's beatable. This guy is beatable. I think an Usyk could beat him. I think a Tyson Fury would beat him, but it's got to be a smart Tyson Fury that boxes. Joyce's successes have been the fact that he's strong and he's powerful and he can take a shot. He looks slow. He looks obvious. He looks predictable. So when fighters fight and think, I've got a shot up there, and he's throwing 3 or 4, 5 shots, but his pace doesn't go up, his pace doesn't go down, his pace stays consistent. So that's why he's so successful, or has been so successful. But he's come across somebody else that was actually very much like that, but a bigger version of him. And with that southpaw style, with a faster southpaw style. So I think Zhang, he boxed his fight. I think with these two, I didn't expect this fight to go the distance without a doubt. Then when you see the size difference of the two of them in the ring, then you've got to put them together, and you know the levels are right. So these two guys are at the same level, but Zhang showed, well, actually no, I'm just a cut above. They've got a rematch clause. Joyce could probably come back and think, well, I've got to take this fight different. I've got to box him. I've got to be smart. That's the only way he beats this guy, because Zhang will do the same. And Joyce was starting to pick the pace up 4 or 5. So 3.5, 4, 5, start to pick the pace up. And if it wasn't for that, I do believe he'd have been well ahead on the points. But the danger was because of that style where he stood in front of you, you can't afford to do that with Zhang before. I can remember when he boxed, he got robbed. What fight was it, Zhang? Hrgovic. I think he won that fight. Yeah. Hrgovic, his behaviour every time he got at times when he got hit in the ring, you could tell he was getting hit, he was getting hurt, and at times he'd switch off and turn back on again. And but Zhang is the opponent where he can be beaten, but if you get fooled by what's in front of you, he'll turn you over. I liked his southpaw style, looked very comfortable in it, loved his backhand, very sharp on it. My worry was with Joe. You know, Joe's reputation is, Joyce's reputation is he can take shots, he's got a thick skull. You can't keep getting hit like that. You can't keep letting somebody hit you like that, because no matter who you are, it's going to slow you down. It's going to affect you down the line. And you just can't keep getting and Joe, even though that's his part of his strength, part of his armory, part of his success story, again, you can't just keep getting hit like that, because you will not know today, you'll not know tomorrow, you might not know next year, but you'll know in a few years down the line, is it worth paying that price?
Yeah, you said that even though he was a stone lighter from the Joseph Parker fight last night, he did look slower than usual. He boxed really well against Daniel Dubois, and I thought he'd use a similar approach, especially as he came in a stone lighter. So on that basis, he has got the option to activate the rematch clause. But if you feel like maybe he is slowing down, Johnny, do you think he shouldn't perhaps not take the rematch?
Oh no, I don't think he's slowing down. I think he chose the wrong. I think he chose the wrong tactics for this fight. That's what I think, because I don't think he's any. I don't think Joe's fast. I don't think he's slow. I think he's consistent. And so with him being consistent, when opponents get in there with him, they'll start off high, their levels will drop, and he'll just walk straight through. That's why it's called the juggernaut. Boom, he's just driving straight through you. He's not slowed down, but his tactics were wrong for this particular opponent. They could get away with that with most heavyweights. That tactic to try and walk down, But if you come up against a guy that can take your shot and give a shot, then you're in trouble. His line was, what is his line? Everybody has a plan until they hit me.
Huh.
Yeah, and so this guy had a plan. He hit him and he knew he could hurt him. So he stuck to his plan. Whereas most heavyweights haven't got that concussive kind of crushing power. We had two heavyweights that had that power, had that punch, had that toughness about them. And so there's so many matches that are there that you think, you know what, I'd love to see him with X, Y, Z. But I don't think so. I think he's exactly the same. I just think his tactics in this one should have been a bit more of a pickpocket instead of actually standing there trying to wear him down.
So if you were advising Joyce right now, obviously the big factor in this rematch is that Joyce heading into this was WBO interim champ, which makes you mandatory for Alexander Usyk, which is now what Zhang holds. So if he wants that back, and you feel like there's a way Joyce can still beat Zhang in a rematch, you'd advise him to take it?
Yeah, I would. I think it made that fight became a lot harder than what it should have been. It's always going to be a hard fight between the two of them. But yeah, I would, because it's a beatable fight for him.
How does he do it?
He's got to box him. He's got to get on his toes, box him, box and bash, box and bash. Don't just stand there and try and bash him. If you look at the rounds as they've all gone, he started to Zhang slowed down. He started to pick him off, started to boss him around. But because of the eye, because of the first 2 or 3 rounds when he was getting the damage incurred, he was suffering the consequences of giving that away. So you've got to box and bash him, and therefore the fight will go a little bit longer. But then he's got to be smart like that. You know, you can't always depend on the power of the punch. You've got to use your boxing ability at times, and this is one of those occasions where Joe needed to use his experience of boxing ability to beat a guy that was bigger than him, boxed exactly like him, that was a southpaw that was at the same level in his career as him. So Joe, it's a beatable fight for him, but you can't hope you're going to wear somebody down and let them punch the lumps off you. I remember that used to be the case when he used to be sparring in Germany with the likes of Axel Schultz and Henry Mast. Those guys would work and they want you to punch yourself out and then catch up to you that way. But if you come across someone that can box as well, you're going to lose. And Johnhny, he just did what he had to do. He put the pressure on him earlier on, just kept that fast left hand, beautiful southpaw left hand, backhand lead. He threw it like a jab. And that one kept catching Joe off guard, catching him off balance, hurting. And so we've seen a vulnerability about Joyce. And so now you're thinking, oh, who can beat him now? You know, now all of a sudden when he was saying he'd beat AJ, beat X, Y, Z. But now you see that somebody can be beaten. Now your crazy ideas are about he'll beat X, Y, Z. It becomes a reality because you've seen how man can be beaten. So again, Joe knows his limits, he knows his strengths. Zhang knows his limits and knows his strengths. So put these two together, Joe can win the fight if they do a rematch. So I'd actually chase that rematch.
There are certain sections of fans saying opposite to you, and you know, even though it's only his first career loss, they're saying, "Oh, he's 37 years old. You know, his punch resistance is starting to go. Joyce is done." What do you say to those people?
I think people don't know what they're talking about. Zhang's 39 years old, you know, and it's heavyweight. If you get hit by a big guy, you're going to get hurt. You're going to get rocked. So whoever says that, they're talking foolishness. Joyce he's not deteriorated visibly to what we can see. What he's done is he's gone in there, gone and boxed the wrong fight with somebody that was happy to stand in front of him and tear up. Before this fight, I said this is going to be a bit of a bloodbath because these two guys will not be playing hide and seek. So one's got to be smarter than the other. Joe's now found out he cannot bully and walk through this guy like he has done with everybody else. And he's worked because he's always been the bigger guy. Joe looked pretty small in there compared to him for the first time. But this guy then wasn't big and slow. He was big and had a fast left hand. And so therefore, you've got to use your brain more than your brawn.
And of course, ultimately, the right decision from the doctor.
Yeah, without a doubt, We couldn't see. I think at the beginning of the round when the doctor checked it, you could see the right was on the wall. And I don't know if I'm seeing things all misread. And so I think the doctor said something like, "Can you see what fingers am I holding?" I think he said 3, and it was 1.
Oh wow.
In the corner, you know, they were asking, "Can you see out of the eye?" So they knew it was a problem. So that's where he got desperate and said, "I've got to put more pressure on." But if you watch Johnny, he was all the time, he was watching and watching and watching, watching to set that backhand up, watching. So it's a matter of time, but he knew he could damage him with it. I know Joyce said he's only boxed 1 southpaw to that point, so struggling with southpaws. But when you're at world level, you're going to box all shapes and sizes: southpaw, orthodox, switch hitters, bigger guys, smaller guys, bangers, boxers, and this is true boxing. You know, you can't be a one-trick pony and say, "This is my power. That's all I'm going to work on." Deontay Wilder got away with that until he met somebody that could box and bash, and you get exposed. So I think for Joyce, I think he had the boxing brain and boxing experience to outbox Zhang. He has the boxing ability to outbox him. Now, I'm not saying anybody else, but he can outbox him.
Okay, Johnny, appreciate your thoughts this Sunday morning, and hopefully we shall speak soon. All the best. Take care.
Anytime, man. Anytime.
I refuse to not be first.
Do we do enough? Well, I never shut up about it.
It must have been about 17, 16, 17. We nicked their guilt rings. Right, the bouncer's guilt ring.
This is no good for me. That's the reality. If you want the honest truth, and I see it every day,